The United States updated its travel advisory for Jamaica on the 25th of July 2024. And since I was heavily criticizing the travel advisory system earlier this year, exposing inconsistencies and all sorts of issues with it, of course, I'd like to provide you with a short update. If you haven't watched this video, please do so first, as most of the points made are still relevant. But there have been quite a few changes in the new travel advisory that I'd like to highlight. If you're new here, my name is Irina. I'm a journalist originally from Ukraine, but I've been residing in Jamaica for the last 10 years. I know that a lot of people are not taking travel advisories seriously. They hardly ever read them. So why even bother making these videos? And that's because these advisories are reported in the news and it's always done out of context. People only hear a new level 3 travel advisory is issued for Jamaica, reconsider travel. And then a few quotes from the travel advisory. And that's it. The context that is missing is the fact that travel advisories are issued for every country on regular basis. It's a part of the procedure. Also, Jamaica's been at level 3 since 2022, so nothing changed in this regard. More importantly, the latest travel advisory is much better than the previous one, but people listening to the news are not going to compare it. Instead, they might think, oh, we were planning a trip to Jamaica, but there is this travel advisory. Let's go somewhere else this time, just in case. So, is it safe to travel to Jamaica right now, 2024? The short answer is definitely yes. The long answer is in this video. Of course, Jamaica is heavily dependent on the tourism industry, and the first update I'd like to share with you here is the effect of the previous news report about the travel advisory at the beginning of February 2024. The results we saw were that plenty of people cancelled their booked trips to Jamaica, reducing the number of tourists for February and March. But that wasn't the main problem. The main problem was that people who planned their trip to Jamaica for spring break or summer didn't book it. So this impact was felt not so much by big resorts, but by small businesses like Airbnbs, private drivers, and so on. There are many factors that go into it, but the travel advisory affected the most vulnerable population in Jamaica the hardest. So whoever thinks that travel advisories don't matter, they do, especially if the media pushes fake information about Jamaica, claiming that crime increased when it actually decreased. Obviously, the US State Department only worries about their own citizens, which makes total sense, and I don't think it was their intention to issue travel advisory to hit the poorest population in Jamaica and make it even harder for them to survive. But those are the consequences, I'm afraid. May and June were even worse for tourism, and on top of that, in the beginning of July, we had a hurricane. A large documentary covering all parishes of Jamaica after the hurricane is coming out on this channel soon, and I'll include the link to it when it's ready. At the moment, I've only published the part covering the South Coast, Treasure Beach specifically. The good news is that the Jamaican government, together with large Jamaican businesses and charity organizations, went full force to help Jamaica recover faster. This is still work in progress, but people are getting their roofs back, utilities are being restored, and many tourism entities are back on track and operating. The Jamaican government also made a huge effort in addressing the issues with the US travel advisory. Our embassy in the United States, our Ministry of Tourism, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade worked closely with their American colleagues, and here is the result. I've counted over 15 changes made to the new travel advisory. The most important one is the fact that they reduced their warning from level 3 to level 2 for health-related concerns. Instead of saying reconsider travel to Jamaica due to crime and medical services, it now says reconsider travel to Jamaica due to crime. Exercise increased caution regarding medical services. I believe they should have removed medical services warning completely from the travel advisory and just kept it in the description of the country page, as they do for most other countries, but still it's progress. The second most important change is that the new travel advisory removed the exaggerated statement about crime in Jamaica that's been sitting there for a few years now. The new advisory says violent crime occurs throughout Jamaica. Tourist areas generally see lower rates of violent crime than other parts of the country, which is more accurate than the previous statement. However, they still have information there that armed robberies and sexual assaults are common without specifying what they mean by common. As common as in the United States. As for all-inclusive resorts, they still mention them, but the language is much more accurate now. Instead of saying assaults frequently happen, which is vague and not true, they now say the US Embassy routinely receives reports of assaults. Obviously, the reports have to be verified and investigated first before they can be used as a fact or statistical data to assert how often something happens. So in my opinion, the new wording delivers the message, but does so in a more appropriate manner. They also removed the incorrect claim about the local police. It used to say local police often do not respond effectively to serious criminal incidents, which was not true. Now they have replaced it with US citizens report slow or unsatisfactory response to serious criminal incidents. This certainly makes more sense, and I personally agree here, because no matter how fast the response is, it can always be better, to the point where the criminal incident is prevented in the first place. Prevention is the only possible satisfactory response to crime. Change number 4 is related to rephrasing information about medical services. The previous advisory said that the emergency services and hospital care vary throughout the island, and response times and quality of care may vary from the US standards. The new one says US citizens should not expect the same level of healthcare available in Jamaica as is available in the United States. They also removed the phrase about public hospitals, which makes sense because American visitors don't usually go to public hospitals in Jamaica, and the travel advisory is written for Americans, not for locals. They also added a phrase that US citizens should bring extra prescription medication, as common medications such as insulin can be difficult to obtain. It's not difficult, but you need a prescription from a local doctor, just like you would in the United States in most cases. So sure, people traveling should bring all the medication they need, definitely. The last kind of significant change was that they adjusted the sentence, which earlier said US citizens with medical emergencies can face bills in the tens of thousands of dollars with air ambulance services to the United States in the range of $30,000 to $50,000. They have removed the first part of the sentence, which I think sounded overly dramatic for an official document such as a travel advisory. Now they simply say air ambulance service to the United States can range from $30,000 to $50,000, which is, yeah. And that's it. All other changes were minor, just replacing words with synonyms. Here's the list of all the changes that were made to the travel advisory, and you can pause the video and check out the details if you wish. I don't think the State Department actually watched my presentation, but some of the problems I pointed out have been addressed, so I'm glad to see that. Many haven't though. For instance, travel advisory for Jamaica is still at level 3 due to crime, which is incorrect considering their own system. It should be at level 2. Yes, Jamaica does have crime, and visitors should exercise increased caution. But reconsider travel due to crime for tourists from the United States? I'm sure my American audience knows the safety situation in their home country much better than I do, so no comments on that. To my Jamaican audience who might say, but wait, crime problems should be solved in Jamaica, and this is when travel advisory would be improved. I'm afraid these are two separate things, and I have proof. When the crime rate in Jamaica was higher, the travel advisory was at level 2. When the crime rate decreased, and is still decreasing, the travel advisory is at level 3. This is just to show that what's really happening in Jamaica in terms of crime has no connection to the level of travel advisory issued by the US Department of State. But overall, this current travel advisory is much better than the previous one, both for Jamaica and for American citizens, because the language there is more accurate. Whoever worked on it this time actually made an effort and made it more professional by removing all of those dramatic exaggerations that were completely unnecessary. Remember, this is a personal YouTube channel, so I can be as dramatic as I want to make my videos more engaging, while government institutions don't have the same luxury. My long-time subscribers might remember that when I began this channel in 2020, I've been posting regular updates about travel restrictions due to COVID that kept changing every month. I guess now I'll be posting US travel advisory updates for Jamaica so that my audience will have a bit more context on the subject. The next routine update to Jamaica Travel Advisory should be in January 2025. In the meantime, please stay tuned for other videos. The big documentary, Jamaica After the Hurricane, is coming out shortly. It's taken me a long time to edit it, with music and everything, but I am working on it. Thank you so much for watching, and a huge thanks to our patrons for your continued support. If you wish to join and contribute to our work financially, you can do so on Patreon from only $5 per month. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.